I snapped and said I could invite my ex over. It's my house too, and that's when everything fell apart. But let me back up because there's more to the story than just that moment. I'm Shannon, 32, and this is the story of how I blew up my 6-year marriage to a man who, looking back, probably deserved better. Nathan and I met through my ex, Alex, if you can believe it. They were friends in college, though by the time I met Nathan, they weren't that close anymore. They still hung out in the same circles, though, and it was at a housewarming party that Nathan caught my eye. He was quieter than Alex, more put together, seemed to have his life figured out. We started dating, and I could tell there was some weird tension between him and Alex. Nathan never said anything directly, but I wasn't stupid. It's awkward when a guy dates his friend's ex. There's always an unspoken, sloppy seconds thing. But Alex and I were done, and Nathan seemed like the better option anyway. He had a stable job in cybersecurity, something with computers I never really understood, and he was responsible in ways Alex never was. After 2 years, Nathan and I got married. The first few years were good, I guess. He got promoted a couple of times. We bought a small house in a decent neighborhood, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. I worked in an insurance office. Nothing exciting, but it paid the bills. Nathan made most of our money with his tech job, which meant longer hours and more stress. He'd come home, eat dinner, then disappear into his office to decompress with video games or whatever he did in there. I started feeling lonely, bored, like we were just roommates who occasionally slept together. That's when Alex popped back into my Facebook messages. Just casual at first. "Hey, stranger, how's life treating you?" I responded because why not? We started chatting more regularly, and it was nice having someone to talk to who wasn't buried in computer code all day. I didn't tell Nathan, not because I thought I was doing something wrong, but because I knew he'd get weird about it given their history. What started as occasional coffee turned into regular happy hours, lunch dates, and constant texting. I'd wake up and check my phone first thing, hoping to see his name. When Nathan asked who I was texting, I'd lie, "Tara, my mom, someone from work." Alex remembered things about me that Nathan had forgotten. How I take my coffee, which wines I like, stories about my childhood. He'd send me songs that reminded him of me, ask my opinion on things like I actually mattered. I couldn't remember the last time Nathan had asked my opinion on anything that wasn't about bills or groceries. I started comparing them constantly. Nathan had gotten so comfortable in our marriage. The same routines, the same conversations, the same boring weekends. Meanwhile, Alex was still hot, confident, and he noticed me. The way I did my hair, a new outfit, a different perfume. Things Nathan barely looked up for. My friend Tara noticed something was off when I started taking longer lunches to meet Alex at a cafe near my office. "Be careful, Shannon," she warned. "This looks a lot like the beginning of something you can't undo." I rolled my eyes. She was being dramatic. Alex and I were just friends. Sure, there was history, but that was in the past. At least, that's what I told myself. Things crossed a definite line the day I gave Alex a key to our house. Nathan was at a 3-day cybersecurity conference in Chicago, and I told Alex to stop by while I was making dinner. He brought wine. I put on music, and we talked until 2 a.m. on the couch, way closer than friends should sit. Nothing physical happened beyond a lingering hug goodbye, but the intention was there, hanging in the air between us. When he left, I slipped him the spare key, in case you want to drop by again sometime. The look we exchanged said everything words couldn't. After that, I got bolder, almost wanted to get caught. I'd mention Alex casually just to see Nathan's reaction. Alex thought that movie was incredible. I'd say over dinner, watching his jaw tighten. One evening, Nathan finally snapped. "What's going on with you and Alex?" His voice was controlled, but his eyes gave away how much it hurt him. I went on the defensive immediately. "Are you spying on me? Checking my phone?" Real nice, Nathan. Real trusting. "I'm not checking your phone. I have eyes. I see how you hide your screen when I walk in." "I think you're paranoid and controlling." I shot back, turning around on him. "Alex is just a friend who actually talks to me about things other than computer viruses and pays attention to me. Maybe you should try it sometime." The next morning, While I was in the shower, Nathan did what I had been practically daring him to do. He looked at my phone. When I came out, wrapped in a towel, he was sitting on a bed, my phone in his hand, looking devastated. Miss your touch. Can't stop thinking about last night. What exactly am I supposed to think this means, Shannon? His voice was eerily calm. I snatched the phone away. Those are just words. We're flirty. It doesn't mean anything. You gave him a key to our house. It wasn't a question. I froze. He must have seen that text too. For emergencies, I lied weakly. What emergency would your ex-boyfriend possibly need to handle at our house? The hurt in his voice was giving way to anger now. I want the key back, and I want whatever this is to stop. Now, today, or we're done. I wasn't ready for an ultimatum. So I agreed, promising to cut things off with Alex, to get the key back, to work on us. Nathan wanted to believe me so badly that he did, or at least pretended to. I texted Alex that we needed to cool things down, but I was vague about why, leaving the door open. I told him Nathan was being insecure, and we should be more careful, not ending things, just adjusting our approach. Nathan really tried after that confrontation. He started coming home earlier, planned a weekend trip to the coast, even suggested couples therapy. His efforts only made me feel more trapped and guilty, which in turn made me resent him more. The text between Alex and me never really stopped. We just got more careful. I bought a cheap prepaid phone and kept it in my desk drawer at work. The breaking point came about a month after Nathan's ultimatum. He had been genuinely trying to save our marriage, coming home early, planning date nights, really listening when I talked. Meanwhile, I was still messaging Alex behind his back, though less frequently. One Tuesday afternoon, Nathan called around 2 p.m., saying he'd be home early and wanted to cook dinner together. I panicked. I'd already invited Alex over, assuming Nathan would be late as usual. Instead of canceling, I spun an elaborate lie about having to work late. Then, as luck would have it, Nathan's meeting got rescheduled. He texted that he'd be working late after all. Relief washed over me. I immediately told Alex we were back on. Alex came over around 6:30. We opened wine, ordered takeout, and sat too close on the couch, watching a movie neither of us was really paying attention to. His arm was around me, my head on his shoulder, positions that couldn't be explained away as just friendly. Then the garage door opened. Nathan walked in, taking in the scene. Takeout containers on the coffee table, half-empty wine glasses, Alex's jacket draped over a chair. His expression shifted from confusion to realization to devastation in about 3 seconds. "What is this?" he asked, his voice deadly quiet. "We were just watching a movie," I said weakly, knowing how pathetic it sounded. "In my house? On my couch? With my wife." "Look, man, it's not what it looks like," Alex started, the most cliché line possible. Nathan's calm was more frightening than if he'd yelled. "It looks like you're getting cozy with my wife in my living room while I was supposed to be at work." I jumped in, desperate to control the situation. "Nathan, you're overreacting. Alex and I are friends. We're allowed to hang out." "Friends." His voice was hollow. "Friends don't sit like that, Shannon. I can invite whoever I want over," I said defensively. "It's my house, too." As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I'd made a catastrophic mistake. Nathan stared at me for what felt like an eternity, then turned to Alex. "I think you should leave." Alex grabbed his jacket and practically ran for the door, throwing me an apologetic glance but clearly relieved to escape the tension. Once we were alone, Nathan spoke. "So this is what our marriage means to you? This is how much respect you have for me, for us, for the life we built. You're blowing this way out of proportion." I insisted. "Nothing happened." "Something's been happening for months," he countered. "You've been lying to my face while I've been trying to save our marriage. If you weren't so controlling about who I could be friends with." "Stop." His voice cut through my deflection. "This isn't about friendship. This is about you and Alex and whatever is still going on between you." "Are you in love with him?" he asked directly. I froze. That silence was an answer in itself. "Do you love me at all anymore?" His voice cracked slightly. "Of course I love you," I said automatically. "But you love him too." It wasn't a question. I didn't respond. That told him everything. I can't do this anymore, Shannon, he finally said. I'm done. You can't just throw away 6 years of marriage because you're jealous. I grasped for anything to shift the blame. This isn't about jealousy, he said. It's about respect and trust, both of which are clearly gone. I do want to fight for us, I insisted, though even I could hear how hollow it sounded. No, you don't. If you did, Alex wouldn't have been in our house tonight. Tears burned at the corners of my eyes. I can cut him off completely. I'll block his number, delete him from Facebook, whatever you want. That's the problem, Nathan said quietly. It would be whatever I want, not what you want. You'd resent me for it, and we'd end up right back here eventually. I love you both. I blurted out, immediately regretting how it sounded. I mean, it's different. What I feel for Alex is different from what I feel for you. Nathan's expression hardened. And that's supposed to make me feel better? That I'm the stable, boring one while he's the exciting one. Why can't I just love both of you? I asked desperately. Is that really so wrong? Nathan exhaled, his voice unervingly steady. I think you should leave. I stared at him, stunned. What? You're kicking me out of my own house? Our house, he corrected. And yes, I think you should go. Stay with a friend. Stay with your parents. Stay with Alex, for all I care. But I can't look at you right now without seeing him too. I'm not going anywhere. You can't just throw me out because you're jealous. Nathan's calm finally broke. This isn't about jealousy, he shouted. This is about you bringing another man into our home behind my back after I explicitly asked you not to see him anymore. This is about you betraying every promise you ever made to me. Silence. Fine, I said eventually. I'll go, but only because I don't want to be somewhere I'm not wanted. I stormed upstairs, throwing clothes and toiletries into a bag. When I came back downstairs, Nathan was sitting on the couch, his head in his hands. He didn't look up as I grabbed my purse and keys. I expected Alex to welcome me with open arms when I showed up at his door, my makeup streaked with tears, an overnight bag hastily packed. Instead, he looked surprised and more than a little uncomfortable. Shannon, what happened? He asked, not immediately inviting me in like I'd hoped. Nathan kicked me out, I said, my voice cracking. He came home, saw us together, and completely lost it. Alex's expression shifted from surprise to something else. Weariness, maybe. And you came here, he said, hesitating before finally stepping aside. Can I stay here tonight? I asked, setting my bag down, just until I figure things out. Yeah, of course, he replied, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. You can take the bed. I'll sleep on the couch. That wasn't the response I'd expected either. In my mind, this moment, finally free from Nathan, finally able to be with Alex openly, was supposed to be romantic, passionate. Instead, it felt awkward, forced. I thought you'd be happy about this, I said, unable to keep the hurt from my voice. We've been talking about being together for months. Talking about it, yeah, he agreed cautiously. But I didn't think it would happen like this. I didn't think you'd actually leave him. Were you saying? Alex ran a hand through his hair, looking increasingly uncomfortable. Shannon, I like you. I've always liked you. But I thought we were just having fun, you know? I didn't think you'd blow up your marriage over it. Just having fun? I repeated, my voice rising. We've been texting constantly for months. You've been telling me how much you miss me, how we should have never broken up. I know, he said, holding up his hands defensively. And I meant it, in the moment. But there's a big difference between flirting with a married woman and actually having her show up at your door expecting to move in. I felt sick. So all of this, all the messages, the meetups, was just fun for you? A game. It wasn't a game, he insisted. But it wasn't this. I never asked you to leave Nathan. I sank onto his couch, the reality of my situation crashing down around me. I had blown up my marriage for a fantasy that never existed. The next few months blurred into a mess of hotel rooms, desperate apartment hunting, and the cold reality of starting over at 32. Nathan and I communicated only through text, arranging times for me to pick up my things while he was at work. I found a small one-bedroom I could barely afford on my insurance office salary. Without Nathan's income, I was suddenly facing financial realities I hadn't considered. Our joint accounts were frozen, and I had to dip into my meager personal savings just to cover the security deposit. Alex ghosted me completely. No calls, no texts, nothing. My pride kept me from reaching out. I'd humiliated myself enough. Once, I tried reaching out to Nathan instead. I asked if we could meet for coffee. At the cafe, he looked good, like he'd been working out more, sleeping better. Nathan, I started, my voice hesitant. I want to say I'm sorry. For everything. For Alex, for lying, for... He nodded, his expression unreadable. I appreciate that. I made a huge mistake, I continued. I threw away everything good in my life for some stupid fantasy that wasn't even real. He hesitated. Then, what happened with Alex? I let out a bitter laugh. Nothing happened with Alex. He didn't want a relationship, just the thrill of sneaking around. The minute I showed up actually available, he couldn't get rid of me fast enough. I swallowed hard, my hands twisting in my lap. Is there any chance we could try again? I know I don't deserve it, but I still love you, Nathan. The look he gave me was a mix of pity and quiet resolve. I think you love the idea of me, Shannon, the stability, the comfort, the life we had. But if you really love me, not just what I provided, you wouldn't have done what you did. I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. People make mistakes, I whispered, even big ones. They do, he agreed. And sometimes those mistakes have permanent consequences. I can forgive you, Shannon, but I can't forget. And I can't go back to not knowing that when things got hard, you looked elsewhere instead of turning to me. 3 months later, our divorce was finalized. Nathan moved to Seattle for a new job. And just like that, 6 years of marriage dissolved into occasional social media updates and a box of wedding photos I couldn't bring myself to throw away. Alex popped back into my messages 6 months after everything fell apart. Hey, stranger, how's life treating you? The exact same opener he'd used the first time he reached out, setting all of this in motion. I blocked his number without responding. The last I heard, Nathan was engaged to a software engineer he met in Seattle. When Tara showed me their announcement photo, I felt a complicated mix of emotions. Sadness for what I'd lost, but also genuine hope that he found someone who could love him in all the ways I'd failed to. He deserved that happiness. As for me, I'm still figuring things out, still learning to sit with my mistakes without letting them define me. But for the first time in a long time, I'm being honest with myself and with others. It's not much, but it's a start.